Welcome back to Backroom Convos. I'm your host with the most, Lesego Mdlalose, aka Shoot Your Shot. Maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. Onodori by something so weird. The song was released 4 years ago on Spotify. Currently, it sits at 2.2 million. That's on Spotify alone. We haven't touched on Apple Music and on Spotify as well. We haven't been using Spotify for the longest time. For those of you who know about when Women Crush Wednesday, they know we've spoken about Viola Davis, we've spoken about Lesego Mdlalose, Naredi Pando, and Octavia Spencer as some of the women that were featured as Women Crush Wednesday. So, who is your Women Crush Wednesday on this Thursday? But recording the episode on a Thursday, Women Crush Wednesday on a Thursday. I'm so sorry for releasing this episode late again. Do let me know who's your Women Crush Wednesday on the comment section, and please do not forget to follow, like, and comment to get a notification for each and every time we release an episode of Backroom Convos with Lesego M. So yeah, today we're talking about Graca Machel. So for those of you who don't know who Graca Machel is, Graca Machel is originally from Mozambique. She was born and raised in Mozambique. She's a politician, a humanitarian. I think at some point she was given a dome's a dome's command of like the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth in 1970. No, not 1970, 1997 for him humanitarian work. She got that award as well, and she's also an advocate for women and children's rights. And she is again a former first lady. She was, I think, married to Nelson Mandela, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, man, I think to touch on why we decided on the segment of, for those of you who don't know, again, for those of you who don't know why we decided to have the segment of Women Crush Wednesday with Lesego M, it's simply because I think at some point we were talking about decorum and how this generation doesn't have a lot of decorum, and we're trying to make up of that because I think one of I just wanna quote some of the episodes that we've had with people like Lebza, Johannes, and they spoke about the meme. There was a meme I think that was circulating on the internet. I think the meme. This is just me paraphrasing. So the meme was of a child asking the mother about the grandmother, Uguti, like, "Mom, why is grandmother always wearing a long sleeve jacket?" And the mother answered the daughter by saying, "Uguti, the reason the grandmother is always wearing a jacket is because the grandmother has a tattoo written, 'Bad bitches never die.'" So, like, speaking of that alone, it's speaking on decorum as well. So, for those of you who don't know what decorum is, please go onto the internet and check what decorum is. So, basically, that's why we're talking about that, to say, Kuti, like, there's a lot, like, the digital footprint is like the people who are doing some of the things that they're doing now, not looking at the impact that it will have on their grandchildren, their daughters, or, like, like that entire thing. They don't look at that when using that example of that meme as an example, right? So we are talking about that as to, like, why we decided on having people like Viola Davis and Lesego Mdlalose, Naledi Pando, and Olivia Spencer as some of the people on the role models ladies should model after. Even if you're a dude, you can still model these people. Because in my, this is like my list. You can have your list, put it on the comment section, let's talk about it. So yeah, who do you think we need to also feature on the episode? That's very important. It shouldn't be about me, but this platform is the platform of all of us. So if you do have someone who's very interesting, you think we need to research on, and you think we might also like get featured on the podcast, do let us know of the person. And please do not forget to follow, like, and comment to get a notification again whenever we release an episode. So Graca Machel, again, going back to Graca Machel as the woman crush Wednesday. So she is also a part of, like, the Africa's 50 most powerful women in Forbes Africa. This is like Forbes Africa. See, she's one of the first. She's like the first woman in, like, the. It was released 4 years ago. I think this thing is being released each and every 4 years. They release a new list of, like, the top 50 most influential women in Africa, and I think Charlize Theron is like one of the ladies that is a part of, like, the two top 50 most influential women in Africa. Graca Machel is the first, right? So, like, shout out to her for that. And for anyone who doesn't know who Graca Machel is, well, basically I gave you the in a nutshell, I just gave you who Graca Machel is. So yeah, man, she also released a book called The Impact of War on Children that was released in 2000. For those of you who are interested or who have read the book, please do let me know in the comment section if you guys found that book to be interesting. So yeah, I looked into like the reviews of the books. Not a lot has been said about the book. I don't know if it's because the book was released in like the early 2000s or what, but there's no review or any. And this is like before, I think the reviews thingy came to play. I think that's one of the reasons we don't have a lot of reviews on this book. So yeah, for those of you who want to like follow who Graca Machel is, just go to the Forbes Africa website and just follow it from there. And just it's a rabbit hole. Just learn about it. So like even some of like the best photographers of today, Sebastian De La Garda, who's like the top one of the top 10 photographers of all time. It was like he used the picture that's in the book, the impact of war on children. The photographies that were taken there were taken by Sebastian De La Garda, who is like the top 10 like most influential photographers that we have in the world. This is not Africa. This is the world in general. So shout out to him for that as well. So shout out to Graca Machel for that. Who is your women crush Wednesday? Do let me know in the comment section. I'm your host with the most, the Lesego M, Daddy Report, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. Please do not forget to follow, like, and comment to get a notification for each and every time we release a new episode. So I'm going to talk a bit about the rankings, right? I know we haven't like prioritized speaking about numbers on the podcast, and I think for the past 3 days we've been ranking high. Most like I think the countries such as Angola and Botswana, a lot of people have been enjoying that. And I saw like the episode we covered on Scott's Mapuma, it's been like doing a lot of rounds on like the podcast platforms. A lot of people have been listening to that. So like shout out to all the people who are listening to that podcast, to that episode rather. Do let me know in the comment section what do you want us to talk about in the next episode, or who is the guest you want us to feature on the next episode of Backroom Convos with Lesego M. And directly after this episode, we are recording a Thursday episode. And I did apologize to some of you listeners, people who listen to the podcast on a daily basis or who listen to the podcast spiritually. I did apologize to you as to why we never released an episode yesterday. So shout out to you, man, for listening to the podcast. And please do share which is your favorite episode or like the moment in the podcast. And I've seen on the website as well, a lot of you, I've read, I think the 3 emails when I came in, I saw there was the 3 emails of people who were begging us to literally have a video podcast because audio is not working for them. And like, I just want to address this like one more time as to why we don't have the video version of the podcast is that we're still working on the equipment. I think the last I did speak to you about as to why we don't have the video version of the podcast is because I think the quotation that we got for all the equipment, this is like besides the what you call this the interior designing of the set of the podcast is like 22K for the equipment alone. We haven't spoken about the interior designing of the venue that we'll be using. Right. So there's also like certain factors that involve like sound engineering, that there's just a lot that goes into it. And like if you don't and if you're not financially stable to a degree, you might find yourself cramping releasing 2 episodes. And so, and again, I think I did communicate with you guys, Uzi, and I think this is like the best quote to use in this instance is that there's a quote that Tyler Perry actually said on one of the shows. I don't remember the name of the show. So he said longevity ownership is longevity. So, and I find that to be true, profound, right? So like everything that I do, I just need to understand it to the T so I can like give my opinions in everything that we do within the podcast, from sound engineering to how we communicate to the comments to the website to probably because we also spoke about doing the radio run for the podcast month as well. Like still shooting out emails to some of the radio stations to be featured on the podcast tour as well to speak about podcasts. So we are having that, So like I think later next year we'll probably introduce the video version of the podcast for some of you. And I think this is the last time that I'm addressing this with some of the people that sent that email. So I think next year, next year June late, that's when we'll be releasing the podcast version of Backroom Convos with Lesego M. So I think for now we can just communicate on the comment section as to what you'd like to see. What some of the conversation you think we need to cover on the video version of the podcast. I'm using a lot of filler words. I know. I do apologize for that. So yeah, do let us know in the comment section what do you think we need to talk about on the visual, the video podcast version of Backroom Convos. Do let me know in the comment section what some of the topics that you think are important. Do we need to touch some of the stuff that's been spoken about on Twitter? Do let me know. And please do not forget, you guys, I think a lot of you guys, we do have a lot of engagement and comments, but you guys never subscribe. Please do not forget to follow, like, and subscribe, because that doesn't only help me with like saving up for the cameras and stuff, but if you guys do subscribe, it helps us get to like the next milestone of the podcast. I know we've spoken about the 200 episode, of which is coming very soon. This episode, I think it's episode 131. This is episode 131. So for those of you who just tuned in, this is episode 131. So do let me know in the comment section. Again, I'm your host with the most, Lesego M report, aka Shoot Your Shot. Maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. So we did actually have the what's the name? I don't know the name. I forgot the name in English. So we do have the poster for the tour, the radio tour. We're still waiting on approval for some of the radio stations to approve the tour. And as soon as they approve the tours, we'll just publish it in all social media platforms, and most especially on the website, we'll just publish it. So yeah, man. So which is your radio station? Do you think which are some of the radio station community youth radio station? And I saw someone was mentioning that we need to also do YFM. I don't know the guys at YFM, but I'll just, if you know someone, just you tell me about the guy. Maybe we'll try and get the email, yeah, that particular person, or get the station manager just to shoot that email so get featured on the podcast. Obviously, a wider and broader audience. So do let me know in the comment section. Shoot your place where you listening the podcast from, the radio station you want us to, go to or head to for the September podcast tour, and we'll be doing that for only weekends. Like we'll be doing this like for Saturday. It can be Saturdays for 4 weeks, or Saturdays and Sundays for 4 weeks back to back. We're not doing that version of the tour during the week, because we also need to be consistent as far as like releasing episodes, so there's just a lot of admin that goes into it, releasing episodes and giving you guys updates as to how it went with all the interviews, or the radio tours we've done for the podcast, International Podcast Month, which is like September the 30th. September the 30th. So yeah, man, that's, I think, to give you a broader view of what's been happening behind the scenes as far as like planning and like the progression of the podcast. As much as I'm not consistent with like releasing some of the episodes, what do you really enjoy about the podcast? Do let me know in the comment section. I'm your host with the most of M. Daily Report, aka Shichichar, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. Please do not forget to follow, like, and comment to get a notification for each and every time we release a new episode. The song of the day is Unodoli by Something So Weird, and currently sits at 2.2 million on Spotify. I'm so sorry for that. This is like on YouTube. This is YouTube, not Spotify. I haven't been using Spotify for the longest time. So this is on YouTube alone, 2.2 million. It's released 4 years ago. What do you actually think about the album, that this particular album when Nodoli was released a part of? So do let me know what you think about that album, and what are some of the songs that you think we need to feature on the next episode, which is like directly after this episode. So yeah, man, do let me know in the comment section. I'm your host again, Lesego Mdlalose Pod. So yeah, for those of you who just joined us now, the Women Crush Wednesday for this week is Graca Machel, a politician, a humanitarian, and an advocate, an international advocate for women and children's rights. And she was an honorary of the team commander of the Order of British Empire, and was given that by Queen Elizabeth II in 1997 for her humanitarian work. And she also has a book called The Impact of War on Children, and the book was released on 2001. She's also a former First Lady of South Africa. She was in a relationship or marriage with Nelson Mandela, for those of you who didn't know. So, who is your woman crush Wednesday? Let me know in the comment section. We've reached the end of today's episode 131. Do let me know who's your women crush Wednesday in the comment section, and I'll meet you on another exciting episode of Backroom Convos with Lesego M. Cheers.